The Catholics of Oz is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to episode 91 of The Catholics of Oz. The Catholics of Oz is a show where we discuss faith, culture, and what's been happening from an Aussie perspective. Whether it's synods or science, apostolates and apps, providence or productivity, you can hear it right now on The Catholics of Oz. Hello, I'm Lindsay Sant. Welcome to episode 91 of The Catholics of Oz. We've got an action-packed episode, quite a few things to get through today. It's so good to have you with us listening on our countdown to episode 100. We're getting excited about it now. So before we continue, firstly, I'd like to bring in Lino Saubolle. Lino, how you going today?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Another beautiful day here in Melbourne. And also, wow, I can't believe where the week's gone. And also, 100th episode coming soon. What episode is this one, Lindsay?
91. We're on 91.
91.
On the way.
Oh, which is the last one was 90. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. All good,
Yep.
all good.
So
Yep. So we're getting there. So we do it every what was
2
it,
weeks,
Linz? Every
fortnightly.
2 weeks.
Yep.
Fortnightly. So Jerry will know this because he's awesome at numbers.
He's the calculator. Yeah,
100th will be what was that? What was it? I can't remember what month will be.
Yeah. We'll work it out later. I'll get a calculator and or a calendar.
We'll know when we get there.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
And that voice,
sounds good. Yeah,
that voice that you're hearing, she's back. She's been in Hobbiton,
Woohoo.
but she's here in Australia, back at home, settling in again. Caroline Knight, you have brought the trio back together. How are you, Caroline?
I
Welcome
have.
back.
Thank you. And I've missed being with you guys the last couple episodes. Has it been 2 or 1 or 2 that I've missed?
We've had 2 this year, so yeah.
2.
I think
You're
Yeah.
here for the
so,
third one of
yeah.
the year.
Yeah.
we
Thank
totally
you
missed you,
for
Caroline. We
covering
totally
for
missed
me.
you. Yes.
Yeah, doing the
Yes.
science of what have we done?
Science
we did
topics.
self-healing
We-
concrete and
Concrete and
robots that can melt and
robots that
reassemble
melt
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
That
good.
is-
Pretty
yeah.
good topics.
Yeah,
Pretty fun.
but now we can
Yeah.
get real topics now that you're here.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
do my best.
Yeah.
Always, Caroline. You do your best always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Good to
yeah.
be back.
So, Caroline, we let's acknowledge as well the we talk about our faithful friends, and did you want to tell us a quick tribute to Melita, your beautiful cat?
Yeah, unfortunately, yesterday I had to let go one of my beautiful cats.
Oh, no.
She turned 7 actually this year.
Oh, wow.
She was only a little, young girl, but she had quite a bad illness, and she was getting very sick for the last few days. And unfortunately, I took her to the vet, and she said, "Look, there's not much to do. Just if you want, take her home and give her some pain medication and see how you go." But I did that for a couple of days. But yesterday I had to make the call because she just went downhill very quickly.
Yeah, poor thing.
I didn't want her to suffer unnecessarily. As hard as it is,
Yeah.
it was not a nice thing to have to do, but she went peacefully and happily with us there. And
No.
yeah, so I want to send a tribute to my beautiful girl, Melita.
Yeah.
She was a very loving cat, very empathetic cat. She was the one when you were upset, she would be right on your lap looking into your face, trying to give you cuddles.
Yes.
And I know Damien loved her too.
Yes,
Lindsay.
yeah. Her and Damien had a good
They
relationship.
had a special
Yeah,
connection.
yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's very hard
Wow.
to wake up this morning and not have her, begging me for food and coming to the bathroom with me
definitely.
and just
Yeah.
wanting to be in my face,
Yeah.
as always. But yeah, so she's got her little cat wings and crossed the rainbow bridge, as they say. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember when Father Rob Gallia in one of his masses was talking about pets and how they're gifts from God. God's creation is so beautiful, and our pets are part of that beauty as well. So tribute to Millie. She was a beautiful cat. Yeah,
Yes, thank
gone,
you.
but definitely
And,
not going to be forgotten for sure.
No,
Yeah.
and
Definitely
Yeah.
not.
I'd like to believe, I don't know, what the official teaching is, but I would like to believe she'll be there in heaven waiting for me.
We did an episode on this a few years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
on pets in heaven.
I
Yeah.
remember that, but I do remember we were talking about
Yeah.
Yeah.
life after death for animals.
And I tell you, my favorite priests are those who say that the pets will be there in heaven.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. God sends out all of creation and brings creation back to him. Interesting. Yeah, well,
That's right.
yep, there's an episode on this.
Yes. There's an episode we can
dig it up from the archives.
And I'm sure all animal lovers will agree with me as well.
For sure.
It's just too hard to think that that's it, you know?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Definitely.
And while we're doing condolences, just wanted to share our condolences with Don Bettinelli, the CEO of the StarQuest Network. His mother passed away recently as well. So he had been providing updates, and it was a sort of a known thing that it was coming. But we just at this time, we just wanted to share, Don, with you and your family, our closeness to all of you, and our prayers at this time. And we pray obviously for her and for all of you, that you'll receive so much comfort from God at this time. Yeah. So let's
may she rest in peace, and may you all be comforted, Dom, and your family. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Yep.
Amen to that. So I also wanted to share some listener feedback. So we've got a lot of things to go through at the start of the show. So here's some feedback. So just bear with me. I've got three separate things here. So Lino, in our past 2 episodes, and you kind of did this as well, we've talked about the weather a little bit here in Melbourne. On Discord there was a bit of weather chat based on our I think it might have been our first episode of the year. Anyway, so this was early February. So on Discord, JW said, listening to you all doing the Oz weather report, I feel sorry for you all here. Here it's 11 degrees and it's minus 11 degrees, and I'll gladly take this temperature over the 39 degrees that you have. Then Dom chimed in and said, here in the Boston area, we're headed towards minus 22 this Saturday. And we haven't had much snow at all this winter. So not much snow, just very, very freezing.
I can't stand the cold. It's making me cold.
That's right. Yeah.
I like being warm. Oh my goodness.
So J-Dub also contributed again, said, I'm glad to hear it. A little rain always, because I mentioned that, that it's going to drop, the temperature will drop after that really hot day and rain a little bit. So I'm glad to hear it. True. A little rain always helps make things a bit more manageable. I agree. Here in Colorado, the weather fluctuates a lot. We're supposed to be up to 15 degrees this weekend, so it doesn't stay cold for long. We do get quite a bit of snow though, which our family loves. Jordan, aka Jeff, said Texas is hanging in there with 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Ha ha ha.
Is that quite cool for Texas? I always think
Fahrenheit,
of it somewhere warm.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I think as well. Yeah.
I can't remember what the conversion is for. I can't remember.
But Texas has had pretty harsh winters as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
They can have.
I think they
Texas.
have. Yeah.
I've read about that. Yeah, they can have very hard.
Father Corey Stico, who we love, has chimed in. Yeah. And I think he gets the prize. He said, we got down to minus 26 degrees.
Oh, my goodness.
And about 6 inches or 15 centimeters of snow at the beginning of this week. But today it was 2 degrees. Nice and warm. Nice and warm. 2 degrees. Yeah.
Nice and warm.
Yeah. Get your shorts on. I wanted to say in Queensland, get your shorts and pluggers on. Yeah. Pluggers are thongs in case anyone's not sure. All right. Yep. Is there an American word for thongs? What do they call thongs in America?
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
Maybe flip-flops.
Yeah.
In the Philippines, we call them chinelas.
In New Zealand, it's jandals.
Jandals
in New Zealand.
New Zealand.
I like how every country has a name for thongs, but Queensland has a word. The pluggers, they got their own one in Queensland.
I haven't actually heard that. Yeah. Well, obviously I'm from Melbourne, so that makes sense.
You never had a busted plugger before, where you broken thong? No. Yep. All right.
What do you say?
It makes sense because it's got that little plug, doesn't it?
The little plug. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When you say that, I think it's quickly. I think you can talk about the toilet. I don't know.
No, different thing.
Not plunger.
No, it's a plunger.
No, you know what a plunger. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Don't take our podcast down to that level, please. We're an Australian podcast. We don't talk like that.
We have high standards.
Yeah. And finally, on the topic of weather, Aurelia chimed in and said minus 1.6 degrees here right now. Compared to what I've heard from the others, that sounds quite warm. So there you are. Yeah.
This sounds quite warm. Yeah.
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 But we're not finished with listener feedback. So Lino, we talked about in the science topic, we talked about self-healing concrete, the Roman self-healing concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it got a bit punny, so that's where the conversation went. So
here we go. Yeah.
Now, I hope I said this right. Shupi Luma. I hope I said that correctly.
I see the tag. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It said, so do we have any concrete evidence on how they made the concrete? To which I replied, I'm sure they'll cement the science and share their findings. To which I was replied, I hope that the science is rock solid.
Rock solid.
Yep. So Dom again chimed in and said they'll formulate a theory and build upon it. Father Corey chimed in and said, hope they have a good foundation or it'll crumble to dust. And then Joden, aka Jeff, said that would gradually affect the structure. So I want to thank you all for the dad jokes made me very happy. So thank you. Yep. Take a bow.
I love how that flowed on. That's brilliant, everyone.
Definitely.
And then last bit of feedback. So this is from the Catholics of Oz Facebook page. So Vivian, who's commented before, we love you, Vivian. She loves the show. So thank you so much again for giving some feedback. So this was on our last topic in Faith Beyond Borders about Word of God Sunday, about Scripture. So she said an interesting, as always, episode. We should send her money for saying that, by the way, for saying we're always interesting. So she said, shape-shifting robots. If one were operating on me, I don't think I'd want to know about it. And then she goes on to say, interesting information on the Bible. And here's something I learned recently that you may like. It came from Father Mike Schmitz during his Catechism in a Year podcast. In 382, the Council of Rome under Pope Damasus promulgated the 73-book scriptural canon. This was reaffirmed in 393 at the Council of Hippo, and in 394 at the Council of Carthage. In 1442, the Ecumenical Council of Florence definitively reaffirms the 73 books. Finally, in 1546, the Council of Trent solemnly defines the canon of Scripture in response to Martin Luther and other Protestants challenging this canon. Looking forward to Catholics of Oz, episode 100. So now I'm feeling the pressure about what we're going to do for our 100th episode.
Guys. Oh.
Better order the streamers now. That's the thing we do, isn't it? Streamers and get some cake.
Streamers. We can bring those little balloons, whistles.
But just little balloons that stay down on the earth and not up in the upper
whistles.
Helium ones.
I'm going to bring a vuvuzela. I don't know about whistles. We're going to go full on.
Lindsay, no.
I want this podcast to sound like a swarm of bees. Yeah.
No, we're not World Cup all over again. Yeah, all good.
Yeah. All right. That was a long intro. Let's get some content going. Thank you. But thank you for that feedback, everyone. That was fantastic. So before we continue, though, if you're new to listening to the Catholics of Oz, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or your favorite podcast player. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and some positive feedback so that we can hear from you and reach new people. SQPN hosts the Catholics of Oz on YouTube. You can subscribe there to SQPN. And don't forget to hit the bell to get new notifications, I should say, when new episodes are released. That includes of this show and all the other great content that's produced by the StarQuest Production Network. So let's start with Faith Beyond Borders.
Well, I'm actually feeling rather good about this. I think we've all arrived at a very special place, eh? Spiritually, ecumenically.
How do you make somebody love you without affecting free will?
Welcome to my world, son. You come up with an answer to that one, you let me know.
Yes, I had to work very hard to pass Latin and theology.
Oh, quite. Those are, of course, the most important things.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
So today, I dug through another document, guys, so I'm going to share that with you. So basically, as we talked about this, we had like this trinity of episodes last year where we spoke about Take the Way of the Gospel, the Plenary Council, and the Synod on Synodality. And I talked about, I think I remember saying something along the lines of, there's a great alignment in the church at the moment. The Holy Spirit is moving through these to prepare the church for its evangelizing mission into the future. That was my spiel anyway, at least. So now what I wanted to share is, and I've been wanting to do this for a while, is every diocese in the world did a collection of feedback for the Synod on Synodality. So the first phase, and I went through all the phases, so I won't go through those again, but there was a great listening process from all around the world. The church wanted to hear from all around the world. So every diocese did a listening exercise, I should say, or process, where they asked parishes and schools and people to share their thoughts on the questions on the topics of participation, mission, and the other one, I can't remember because this is what happens when I try and list things. Communion, that was the other one, on those three themes of the Synod. And so each diocese produced its own synthesis or report on what everyone had to say. And then each church, national church, country, produced a synthesis based on all the reports that were given. So there's a whole lot of feedback. I mean, there's tons. I don't know how
to say.
Yeah, I feel sorry for people in Rome who have to pour through all this. And,
wow.
Yeah. So anyway, all of this will be turned into what's called an instrumentum laboris, or a working document. So this is basically, we've talked about this before with the plenary council, right? All the feedback from the church in Australia was put into an instrumentum laboris, which then became, the foundation for discussions and discernment at the plenary council. So same deal with the Synod on Synodality now. So remember that the Synod on Synodality is going to be in October this year. And it's a synod about becoming more of a church that listens, a listening church, a church that walks together in this mission of spreading the good news of Christ in the world today, as the world is today. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things. I'm not going to do as extensive a thing as I've done with other documents, because I think maybe I'm sending people to sleep when we do these document discoveries. But I did want to, I guess the document is good because it's got its finger on the pulse on the church in Australia at the moment, what they're thinking. And what I've got really is it's an abbreviated version. There are things in the document that I've missed because I can't go through everything in a podcast. So I'm just going to go through some things that were highlighted in the document. And then there's a link in our show notes. So if you'd like to go through and read the whole thing, it's about 20 pages. So it's not actually a very long document. So you could read it in an hour or less, depending on what kind of a reader you are. And there are some interesting things in there. Wherever you're listening in the world, maybe look at what your own diocese has produced. I'm sure a document on the Synod will be there, and see what your own national church has produced if that synthesis exists as well. And if you'd like to share what was in there, please share it with us and we'll put it on the show. So first of all, now this is actually at the end of the document, but I thought I'd throw it at the start. There was a snapshot of the church in Australia as it is right now. So just a few fun facts to start with. So the total number of Catholics in Australia at the time that the report was produced was 5,291,834 people. And the Australian population is about 26 million something at the moment, I think. It's always changing. Catholics made up 22.6% of the total population. The median age of Catholics was 40 years. So we're right in the median age. Well done, guys. We're there. Catholics aged 0 to 14 made up 19.8% of the Catholic population. Catholics aged 65 and over made up 16.6% of the Catholic population. There were 1,997,833 Catholic families where one or more member was Catholic, and 73.6% of Catholics were born in Australia. So 24.7% of Catholics were born overseas. Of all Catholics aged 15 and over, 20.6% had a university degree. The average weekly attendance at Mass was 623,356. So on an average weekend, around 11.8% of people who said they were Catholic attended Mass. So you can see the big divergence there in
very low.
Yeah, number of Catholics compared to those who are attending Mass as well. So that's that tells us that the mission field is there, right? The new evangelization that Pope John Paul II talked about. It's the opportunity is there. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things that were in the document. Again, I can't go through everything, but these are things that were noted that Australian Catholics were saying in their contribution to the Synod on Synodality, which happens this year. So in the introduction, it made a few comments. It said Australian participants contributed their thoughts through discussion groups and online contributions. The Synod of Australian Bishops and the Australian Plenary Council coincided with this process, which also helped with the gathering of views because the structures to gather views were already in place. There was a great divergence of views expressed in the submissions across all dioceses. So there were views that were both traditional and modern, optimistic and hopeful, and also some views of frustration and sadness in some areas of the church. Most of the voices were from people who were well-educated or more affluent, or members of the church who wanted to make their opinions known. And it noted that there are still valuable voices who are unheard in the church, and the Australian Church is working to find ways to incorporate all of the voices, especially those who have been missed, into its collective listening process to get a truer sense of what the faithful are thinking. So on the topic of synodality, the feedback from Australian Catholics in general was that if it's going to be successful, so this is a church which listens and a church which works together, takes the way together for evangelization, if it's going to be successful, it requires a buy-in and commitment from leadership in the church and an inclusion from, yep. So, I mean, that's an important part of it.
Yep, definitely.
It also requires the inclusion of all voices, including those who are on the margins. So it can't just be one voice or, a small number of privileged voices that are being listened to. It needs to be all voices within the church. Parishes, and parishes and dioceses who practice synodality, people who have already sort of incorporated, they say that it's a joyful experience and a transformational one as well for them and for their faith. Also on synodality, new forms of church life that are better suited to First Nations cultures need to be considered in the synodal journey. And the fruits of synodality are being seen in some structures, in some pastoral councils, and they say that it brings hope and joy to the mission of spreading the good news of Jesus. And finally, on synodality, it says synodal consultation needs to be followed up by concrete actions. So that's the first part on what people were saying about synodality. Now just on the three themes, so on communion, on participation, and on mission. So on communion, or, being a community, a church community, what it means to be one now, it said many people have a great love for the church. There were many stories that were shared about people's great moments in their parish lives, their relationship with priests, their relationship with community, which was noted. Some yearned for the good old days, although many recognized that going back to the good old days wasn't possible. And therefore, we should be looking forwards in hope to the church of the future. It says people are yearning for a greater sense of community in their parish life. A lot of people noted that community life was impacted by COVID-19, but it was also said that where a sense of community was developed in parishes, participation in mission naturally followed. So communion was a really important element in that. More people want to deepen their faith. They said they want their faith to be deepened. They want to do more about it. They also want more direction and guidance in this area about how that might go about. And there were also some fears about people who felt that they didn't know enough about their faith and therefore they couldn't respond to difficult questions, sometimes in the public square, sometimes criticism of church that they've heard that they just felt that they weren't equipped to respond to. They wanted a richer understanding of how Christ is. It says the fourfold presence of Christ in the Mass. We've done an episode on this. I can't remember what it was, but we talked about how Christ is present through the priest, through the word of Scripture, through Eucharist, and then through the people. So we've actually, so we've done that. But people want to know more about that. What does it mean, this fourfold presence of Christ in Mass? Also, people are calling for ongoing adult formation and for adults, obviously, if it's adult formation, and catechesis for young people. But not just like you've got to educate kids in their faith in the parish, but it's also about how can we support families to educate their kids in their faith better. So that was a call that was made as well. And finally, on the topic of communion, widespread acceptance of the importance of liturgy or of Mass to faith. So a greater understanding of what the liturgy actually means in our faith. It's not just a tick the box, you've attended your Sunday Mass. What is it actually doing? And Pope Francis had written a letter about liturgy last year, which again we did an episode on. I remember we talked about this too. So it is something that's been recognised as an important topic. Also support for old and new forms of liturgy, and also our Indigenous Australians are calling for greater recognition of their spirituality in liturgy in Australia, which makes perfect sense, right? If we're an Australian church, we need to incorporate all of Australia, which includes our Indigenous people too. Mm-hmm. So that comment was made. The plenary council documents that we went through also spoke about that, and we did have a conversation about that too. So a lot of this is actually stuff that that has come up before because we've talked about it. So we're not the originators. What I'm saying is we've talked about these topics before because the Australian Church is having a conversation about them as well. On the topic of participation, that was the second theme of the Synod. People were saying, how can we make parishes more welcoming and more inclusive, especially for people who are on the fringes of the church, which includes Indigenous Australians, migrants, refugees, those of different sexual orientations, the poor and the vulnerable. So there was a call for the church to be more compassionate while still remaining authentic to its teachings, because it was noted that in some ways when teachings were applied, they put up barriers. So things about the church that were taught in a way that made the church more exclusive rather than inclusive of everyone. So yes, so what they're saying is, yes, the church needs to be authentic to its teaching, but it needs to be, there needs to be a level of compassion that goes with that as well, because the message of Christ is for everyone, not just for the few. Also on participation, greater collaboration between clergy and laity, and support for parish priests in their work. We know that pastoral load, that's kind of the official term, of our priests can be quite demanding, and so they need to be supported in the work that they're doing. A need to address the shortage of priests, so more discussion needs to happen in this area on the formation of priests and how the shortage of priests can be addressed. And also the hierarchical model of decision making. This was seen as beneficial. However, there's also negative implications that were noted too. So while people were saying it's good that the church has in Australia has a hierarchy in which decisions are made, you've got authority in there, that's really good. However, people noted that more diversity of voices needed to be injected into this decision making as well. So that means that more voices from a variety of age groups, backgrounds, and also specializations in different areas need to be considered and listened to when this kind of decision making was being made too. So on the last theme of mission, a call for greater engagement of the church in social justice issues, in the political sphere, and also in environmental issues as well. So calling for the church to have more of a voice and more of an influence in these areas. A greater sense in the church in its mission that all who are baptized are missionary disciples. This is the one that I am so on board with right now. All right, this, I'll take the way of the gospel, in the Archdiocese of Melbourne this is one of its impulses really, is for all of us to remember that we're missionary disciples, and we have a missionary discipleship role in our families, in our workplaces, in wherever we go, in our parishes, in the world, when we might feel that we're equipped how Christ is calling us, so that we're not a static church, maintenance church, we're a missionary church, and that missionary impulse to actually respond to that. I'll get off my high horse now and move on, because like I said, it is a topic that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on, a greater sense that the church needs to reach out to those of other Christian traditions and engage in more ecumenical dialogue. So synodality, what they're saying is synodality needs to be within our church, but it also needs to reach out to other churches as well, because they also believe in Christ. So how can we be more of a listening church with them? How can we model the listening church to them as well? How can we all together be followers of Christ who spread the good news of Christ in society? Just a few more points, almost finished here. It says here, Catholics shouldn't expect people to come into the church. Catholics need to reach out to people in the communities that they're in and invite people into the church. That's that missionary thing. So seeking ways to spread the good news to people while meeting people where they are. So not hoping for where they'll be at, but meeting where they are and being walking with them in their journey. Another word that I love that was mentioned about co-responsibility, and this is the idea of recognizing that the mission of the church is the responsibility of all Catholics, not just our clergy. There's that good old, father's meant to be bringing people into the church, not us. Recognizing,
wow.
recognizing that all of us are responsible for evangelization. So greater participation between clergy and laity in this role, but also in some areas, recognition of the laity that they are capable of evangelization as well, because sometimes in some quarters, and this is very minimal, but sometimes laity get looked down upon. They're the sheep who are meant to follow the priest, but that's not the model of church that we have. And also, I'm not an advocate of replacing priests with laity. I know some people then move on to that, right? So calm down. I'm not saying that either. But what I'm talking about in co-responsibility is partnership in evangelization.
Working together.
Yeah. We're all following Christ. Our baptism tells us that we have a mission to participate in. So empowering laity to do this mission, I think, it's a good point that people are making here. And the last point that I took down from this theme of mission is those things which are essential for the maintenance of the church need to be boldly let go of. So sometimes we talk about a church that's in maintenance mode or a parish that's in maintenance mode, that is preserving what you have. All right, we've got it good. Let's preserve it. Let's hold on to it. But the Holy Spirit doesn't preserve. The Holy Spirit is dynamic and calls us to do more and more and more and grow more and more too.
He's a shaker-upperer.
He's a shaker-upperer. Absolutely. Absolutely. And a maintenance parish, even Pope Francis has sort of railed in Evangelii Gaudium against maintenance, mode. He says, no, we can't be a maintenance church. We need to be a lot more than that. We need to be a dynamic and bold church. So for the sake of the church's mission in contemporary Australia, identifying those things which are maintenance, hold the church where it is. What we've got is good. Let's just hang on to it for as long as we can, and boldly letting that go so that we can let the Spirit do its work and be a dynamic and growing church as well. So that is my bare bones sort of summary of what's going on in the Australian synthesis. Again, this is one voice, one country amongst all the countries in the world where the church has participated in the synod. But Lino and Caroline, any thoughts or responses to some of those things that Australian Catholics are saying in response to the church's synod?
Yeah, I just think it's great that the church has to go in and get this information to really do a deep study about who the people in the church are and how the practice is going and what needs to be done and all of that, It's like, when you kind of have a relationship with someone, you kind of have to get to know each other so that you can work things out, and then, then you can move on and, you can improve each other and that kind of thing. So it's good that we're not just sitting there going, okay, everyone just go to church on Sunday. Okay, everybody be normal during the week and not worry, think about it again. And, but it's exciting to think that participation in the church life is encouraged, because then people can take responsibility for their own faith life. And then once you're excited about that, it's easier to evangelize to others. There are other denominations of Christianity who physically go out seeking people, and I think that's kind of an exciting thing. And I like the point about meeting people where they are. And like I said with the relationship thing, you can't go into relationship expecting that you're going to change someone. It doesn't work like that. It's just recipe for failure. So if we can accept, everybody can accept everyone for who they are and share the faith in that way, I think it's makes for a healthier relationship. So I love that, Lindsay.
Yeah, if we entered into
great
go Lino, sorry, you go. Yeah.
No. Oh, just it's a great example of all three of us know our marriage. Walk through ups and downs. We meet our partners, and you get to know them, and that's the same thing was happening over here with the Synod. It's asking people questions. Yeah, Lindsay, is asking questions, and you feedback. What can we do to move forward with our church? I understand that there was a comment you were saying that people like to have it as the old days. The old days are good, yeah, but what can we make the church better, and to involve other people to move forward?
Yeah.
And that's great. Yeah.
And we know that in the old days, there were some serious issues in the church, which I won't go into right now, but people know what I'm talking about.
It's history. It's how far back do you want to go? It's serious issues in some places. Yeah.
And one thing that I do like about the old days, though, I will acknowledge, though, is that, and this is sometimes even before our time, the church was expert at doing community. that was one thing they were really, really good at doing. And not that the church is bad at doing it now.
No. They're still doing it. I think they are still doing it, but yeah.
But clearly we could be doing it better, as we saw in that
I like
document.
when you could just buy indulgences and stuff. That was
oh, the good old days. Yeah, the really good old days. Yeah.
The really good old days.
I don't think that's what they were talking about. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Yeah. If only it were that easy. Yeah. Yeah. Catholics of Oz does not endorse mortal sin. For further information, please refer to the Catechism. Yeah.
And like when the popes used to like make, they used to have families and they used to that kind of thing. They were the really good old days.
I already said my disclaimer. Do I have to say it again? Yeah.
You need another disclaimer.
Yeah. I think, you both made some...
I think the church today, I was going to say, I think the church today is vastly improved from what it used to historically be. I mean, it's tried many times, and it's gone up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And I think at the moment they're really trying to be as best as they can be for everybody, which is really good because, like I said, like in the very old days, it used to be more like a hierarchy. You'd have your Pope who was basically like a king, and then you have your subjects, which is not the way that the church really should be run at all. But now it's very inclusive of everybody, and the mission approach is a beautiful one because it means that we can all practice together and faithful people together. Doesn't matter what role you play in the church, So
I mean, one of the yardsticks we can use to measure the success of this process or not is the church now equipped to do. I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's Matthew 27. Don't get me wrong. Or look it up, people, if I'm wrong. But go out to the go out to all the nations, baptizing them. Spread the good news to all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yeah. I mean, that's the great commissioning, right? Isn't it? That's the commissioning of the church community. And are we being more equipped to do that?
Exactly.
I feel like this is just my anecdotal observation, right? But I've run sessions, take the way of the gospel sessions in my parish, information sessions and listening sessions, right? Collecting feedback for about 60 to 70 people now over different, because I've been doing very small groups so that everyone has a chance to speak. And what they're saying kind of aligns with this document in the sense that we want to do more. Help us to do more. How do we do more? Where do we go to? Who do we see? How do we get this all going? So there is that fire in our parishes that people want to do more, which is good. So now the next job of parishes is to equip, parish pastoral councils and so on to start discussing how they can equip their people to do this more that they want to do. Processes of discernment and supercharging our prayer life so we can bring ourselves closer to God and listen to God, and how what is the fire in our hearts that Jesus is calling us to lean towards, where can we serve and evangelize in our churches and our ministries and so on. I wanted to comment on one thing you said as well, Caroline, that thing about people where they are, and Lino, you were talking about this too. Lino, you talked about marriage. When we go into a marriage, we don't want to turn the other person into ourselves, do we? Make them us. That actually we want to. When we get into a marriage, one thing that's great about it is that we get the best of that other person, and they get the best of us, and we're better for it, right?
I don't know. I don't know if Benedette's got the best out of me, but that's
we're all a work in progress in God's great plan, Lino. Don't worry.
I was perfect to begin with.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
To let you know.
Okay.
I feel another disclaimer coming on now about marriage in the church. All right. Yeah. But
just joking.
Yeah.
Just joking.
No, not joking.
Yeah. But in marriage, the two become one, right? And when you look at the married couple, you no longer see, Caroline and Phil Knight. You see you see a married couple. That's that you see that's kind of what it is now, right? And even in that,
correct.
Even as the church forms its relationships with others, it is the church of the people who are here and the people who are there and all that stuff as well.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on, because otherwise we'll end up being a 5-hour podcast, and we're trying not to do that.
Good topic.
Yeah.
It's very good, Lindsay. But I can't, personally, I can't wait to see how this evolves and moves on.
Yeah, definitely.
Moves forward.
Yeah.
look, we need this. Like, actually, I'm not saying church and masses and anything has been stale. That's a more strong word to say.
Yeah.
But to make it more interesting in a sense, I hope I'm making sense here. But yeah, making the church move forward. I hope this works out.
Yeah.
And it's great they're listening to us, Linz.
Yeah.
It's great that they're listening to everyone's voice in a sense.
Yeah. A church that wants to listen to its people gives me the greatest hope. That gives me the greatest hope.
That's correct.
Yeah. And even if we're going to have all kinds of views, great ones, not so great ones, some aligned with some new church teaching, some not. But it's good to know where people's hearts are, really. Yeah. Because I'm sure the overwhelming majority of the people who contributed love Christ. And that's the thing. Exactly. They love Christ. Yep. And none of us are perfect, and we all struggle to align with whatever it might be, but they love Christ, and that's where I think that's the foundation of it, that we can all acknowledge where we're similar. All right. Definitely. Again, if anyone who's listening, if you have any comments on the synodal process, all right, or anything that you'd like to add about the process in your own country, about the process overall, we'd love to hear it. Be charitable, please, but we'd love to hear it as well. So let's move on, because Caroline, we're going to throw over to you. This is exciting because for the first time this year, Caroline, you're going to talk about science.
What a fine day for science.
You have any hobbies?
I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Can you reverse the polarity?
I'll do my best.
Science, 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 science. Science, 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 science. Yeah, I like science.
Caroline, I love your topic. I'm not going to say anything about it because I want you to kick us off. All right. This is so Australian. So tell us about your topic, Caroline. Go for it.
I thought, yes. So I'm doing a little bit of a science news topic today. Okay. It's very Australian. So let's just get into it. So there was a mining company who lost a radioactive capsule.
Whoops.
Okay. Oops. So on January 25th, Rio Tinto, a mining company operating in Western Australia, reported that a capsule containing radioactive cesium-137 had been lost. It was only pea-sized, or other reports say 10 cent size of a 10-cent coin, but if you don't know what our 10-cent coin size is,
just Google it.
And it was thought to have come off a radiation gauge being transported on the back of a truck. Now, apparently it's really strange for these capsules to come off the radiation gauge, so they're not sure how it happened, but I love the reference to it came off the back of a truck.
No, we're sure how it happened, Caroline. We know it fell off the back of a truck. That's how it happened.
It actually did fall off the back of a truck.
That is so Australian,
really
right? It fell off the back of a truck. How did you lose it? Oh, it fell off the back of a truck.
Off the back of a truck, yeah.
Come on, Caroline.
Yeah. Which really alludes to, anyway.
Yeah.
In this case, it actually did come off the back of a truck.
It actually did fall off the back of a truck. Yeah.
It wasn't like inadvertent, taken. But anyway.
Wasn't stolen,
yeah. This kind of radiation gauge is used to measure the density of iron ore in the mining process. It's thought that the capsule came loose from the gauge and fell through the crack in the truck doors as it was being transported. So potentially it was shaken loose by the vibrations of the truck. The capsule was actually lost from the 12th of January when it made its way from the Goodeye Dari iron ore mine in Newman, located in the Pilbara region of Western Australia, to a depot located in the north of Perth city centre. Now this is a 1,400 kilometre journey, or 870 mile journey.
Mm-hmm.
And it was discovered to be missing when the package it was supposed to be in was inspected on January 25th. And they found that, the gauge was there, but the radioactive was missing. Okay.
Where is it? Oh, it must have fallen off the back of the truck.
Must have fallen off the back of the truck. The issue with someone finding the tiny capsule is that it actually emits both beta and gamma rays. Mm-hmm. And if you come into contact, it could have caused skin damage, including severe burns.
Yep.
The exposure could be the same as receiving 10 X-rays per hour.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And this is even up to like you could be 10 meters from 10 meters distance, like even up to that, you could be still receiving the exposure.
Yep. So this
a
is
health warning.
You know, jokes aside, this is pretty serious. You know what I mean? It's a very,
it's
very
actually
dangerous.
really serious.
Yeah.
It's actually serious.
Yeah.
We just like the back of the truck thing.
Well, which is why it's so funny. Oh, what happened to that really dangerous radioactive thing you've got? Oh, it fell off the back of a truck. You know, that's
it.
Yeah.
So a health warning was issued by the state's chief health officer, which we're very familiar with state chief health officers after the COVID thing.
We are.
We know all of them from every state of Australia now. So Andy Robertson, he was talking to the state about the risks associated with coming into contact with the capsule. As I mentioned, damage could be done even at 10 meters distance from the capsule. And health authorities were concerned if it could have been lodged in the car tire of someone as they drove down the road. Imagine if you inadvertently drive over, and because it's so small, it could have been stuck in a car tire. So they were really worried about that.
Yeah, they asked people to inspect their tires if they drove on that route as well. Yeah, to make sure it wasn't lodged in their tires.
Do you want people to actually go that close? I don't know. Anyway, so the search was on to find the equivalent of a needle in a haystack. Emergency services were tasked with searching for the capsule. They didn't just walk along looking with their eyes because, that's a very long distance to just be walking along trying to look for a tiny, tiny little capsule. So the method used was to load a car with survey equipment used to detect gamma radiation emitted by the capsule. While driving down the route taken by the truck at 70 kilometers an hour, they actually received a strong signal for the gamma radiation, and they had a look. Eureka, we found it. Eureka's a good one. And they had a look at the serial number, and that was the missing capsule. Unofficially, because they don't want to actually say where exactly it was found, but it was found about 200 kilometers from the mine site 2 weeks later. Now, talking about back of a truck, this isn't the first time radioactive material has gone missing in Australia. No.
Is this like an honoured Australian pastime or something?
Yes, it seems to be. But I found an intentional theft, okay? So an intentional back of the truck. While I was searching up information for this topic, I came across an article that said there was a theft of 2,200 kilograms of yellow cake, which is a uranium oxide or an ore, before they extract the uranium out of it. It's like a yellow, very yellow mineral. So yes. And the material came from the Mary Kathleen uranium mine and processing plant in between Mount Isa and Cloncurry in Queensland. And this took place it actually was revealed, the theft, in 1980. So the mine was operated by Mary Kathleen Uranium Ltd, which by 1980 was joint and owned by CRA Ltd and the Commonwealth Government. So, the capsule was discovered within a couple of weeks, thank goodness, of going missing. But this uranium was, taken over a 12-month period starting in 1977. And the absence wasn't discovered through regular checks or an audit because the employee who stole it tried to sell the yellow cake to a scrap merchant in Sydney.
Whoa.
So luckily, the scrap dealer went to the police. There was an investigation, and the employee had been removing the uranium oxide from the processing plant between April 1977 and July 1978.
Whoa.
He filled 6 drums of the stuff and sent it to Sydney.
Wow.
So then he was actually found guilty of the theft and sentenced to 5 years in prison in 1981. Now, for me, I'm not sure if 5 years is enough because
you should be sentenced for the half-life of uranium.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good punishment.
Yeah.
Because radioactive material is extremely damaging, like we read about the little cesium capsule. Okay. Okay, it was the yellow cake form. It wasn't pure uranium, but still, I mean, there've been reported losses or exposures, accidental exposures to radioactive material, and basically it destroys cells. Like the particles emitted from the radioactivity will destroy cells, destroy DNA, and if you get a severe enough exposure, you're not coming back from it. There is no healing from it. I mean, we just know from disasters that have happened and people being exposed.
Yeah. I've seen Star Trek too. I saw what happened to Spock. Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go. But there was what was the big explosion?
Fukushima?
There was the Fukushima, but there was the
Chernobyl?
big one in Chernobyl.
Yeah.
So that was a massive disaster. Yeah. And the people who went in to have a look died because they got so much exposure to radiation.
Is that still open, Caroline? Oh no, so we're changing the topic.
It's still radioactive. You cannot go there.
You can't go there.
Yeah,
no.
you can't go there.
Yeah.
Now,
animals are starting to go back. But
yeah.
I did see a documentary where animals are starting to go back, but they're not quite right. Their DNA has been affected.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it started off with a kind of a silly thing, but it has a really serious undertone. So
certainly does. Yeah.
Yeah. So just stay away from any radioactive sources, including your fire alarms. They have a little bit of a radioactive substance. Just leave the fire alarms up there and do not open them up. And
change the batteries. Yeah. All good.
Just, I mean, don't open up the radioactive part.
Full on. Yeah, definitely.
Just change the batteries. Like, yes, please change the batteries on your smoke alarm. That's a good idea.
Can I contribute to this topic? So I found it. I'd alluded to this before. So when it happened, the story was so serious and so ridiculous at the same time in the media. That it was being parodied in different ways. So someone on the internet parodied this story and the advice that was being given by chief health officers and officials and whatever, right? So you might remember, some of you who in Australia, you might remember that on A Current Affair with Ray Martin, every Friday evening, he would have those two comedians who would pretend to be politicians and, have this really silly conversation, right?
So funny.
I found the text that someone created for this. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share it for you. So the person pretends to be the official is the first one he speaks. He goes, "It fell off the back." "It fell off the back?" "Yes." "And how big is it?" "About the size of a 10-cent coin. But you should stay 5 meters away from it if you find it. It's very dangerous." "So where did it fall off?" "Somewhere between Perth and the Pilbara." "So should we be worried?" "No, Brian, the risk is relatively low." "But you say here it could cause radiation burns." "Well, yes, if you see the capsule, you shouldn't touch it." How will they see it if it's the size of a 10-cent coin?" "A magnifying glass?" That's the end scene. There you go.
Very, very good.
There you go.
Very, very good.
Yeah. I used to love that. Those two
we love a good I know. We love a good disaster. We love a good joke about a disaster.
Yeah. This is the larrikinism part coming out of it.
Yes.
But thankfully we can laugh because no one was harmed. It was found.
No one was
the needle in a haystack was found. Yeah. And
it was legitimately found. They found it in a very intelligent way by using a radioactive meter, which was the perfect way to go about it.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Please, Australians, please secure whatever you put on the back of your truck.
Secure it.
Secure your load.
Personally, I'm tired of going down the Monash Freeway.
I was about to say.
Finding bits of stuff on the road and
big block of
do you
foam,
swerve or do you
planks,
keep going?
That's right.
Yes.
Please secure your loads, people.
That's the message of this story.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very good.
Definitely with radioactive. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Me. Oh.
All right. Let's move on then. We'll finish the show with some discussion. Yeah. I was going to say let's start with entertainment, but I feel like we've already got into it. But anyway, let's move on to entertainment.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
This is not what we came here to do.
No, but it's what I'm going to do.
I have a plan. You've got a plan. I have parts of a plan. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
All right, so let's go. So we're just going to quickly go through some things we've been watching. Caroline, I feel like we should save the best/worst for last. So Lino and I will go first. Yeah. Mine is a quick one. I've been watching Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which is like the Clone Wars sequel series, and it's in season 2 right now. So they had a 2 episodes mid-season, like whatever you call it, episodes. They put 2 episodes where they kind of went from sort of like regular stories and a bit of character development into a grander story. I won't sort of spoil it because people probably have, a lot of people wouldn't have seen it yet. But basically, it goes. What they're doing is they're going into a little bit more depth about sort of the backgrounds of the Clone Wars, the clones themselves, and basically the future of clones in the Empire. I won't say much more than that. Very entertaining. I'm really loving the series. Some episodes have been like, oh yeah, that was interesting. And some of the episodes go a lot deeper, and add a bit of Star Wars, lore, which is really good. So I'm enjoying it a lot. Love the characters, love where it's going. The first season was great. So this season I think has been equally good as well. And it'll be interesting to see how it finishes off. But that's all I've got to say on that one. Lino, over to you.
So we watched the first movie of The Karate Kid. I wanted to start that off because before we watch Cobra Kai. I didn't want well, Bernadette would know who the characters are in the sense to get used to them, but I wanted her to know what do they call it, origins?
Yeah.
origin side of the characters. So that's what I started watching. So for us, that's basically it. Besides our usual Blacklist and the usual Star Trek, but I think since tennis is gone, you tend to watch your streaming services.
Go back to your streaming shows, once the tennis is over.
So that's what we've been doing at the moment. So she actually really enjoyed the first movie, and I was telling Caroline before, when we were young, I never watched it from start to finish. I don't know why. Maybe I was at a party or a friend's place, and my friends, hey, check this scene out. Oh, we fast forward. Well, I want to watch it with this. No, fast forward and rewind this part. And of course, everyone knows about the infamous crane kick. Everyone watch that and all that stuff. So it was good to watch it from start to finish. And there were a lot of I don't know, when you watch movies, you tend to find more about the plot, the plot and the characters building and everything. And Daniel being his mum being a single mum, moving from another state, and the troubles he was going through, those sort of things, you wouldn't come across a lot more in movies back in those days. I don't know. I was watching a lot of action films, but all that stuff. But
they're interesting nuances that you pick up as an adult when you watch it as well, aren't they?
Exactly. As the kid, you want to watch the action, the punching, blah blah blah, and everything. But when you're an adult, you go, that's a good story. Oh my gosh, that character's so good. So, that one, it's a good story. And it has a good, like a theme to it. So
I still remember. I loved, like Daniel learning about Mr. Miyagi's war history. That
was the other thing.
This was like, a karate movie for kids and whatever. And you've got this really touching, like just beautiful exposition of his history. I really liked that too. I thought that was
I was just about to say that. We see. I know a lot of people have seen it already, but when he wore the uniform, and I thought, it's not the Japanese uniform, because if they did that, it would be in big trouble. But he fought for the Americans.
Yeah, but the whole thing there, was amazing. Yeah. And I love the scene of like Daniel training before the tournament, and when he's standing on the boat in the sunset doing the punches on the boat. I thought, wow, they actually put some effort into filming this.
Exactly.
So, it's not like your typical, Schwarzenegger action film. I let him go, that kind of stuff. That kind of from that era. Yeah,
it has themes. And it has a meaning. And when Miss Miyagi, it was so sad that he passed away before they made Cobra Kai. I think it was a few years before they. I think they were plotting it, plotting the series.
Yeah,
but then he passed away just before, maybe 2 or 3, 4 years before he passed. They were making the series, and it was just listening to Daniel. When he tells me Miyagi, "You're not teaching me karate. You're teaching me to be a slave. You're teaching me to do all the chores and everything." And you think, that was probably me when I was young.
Sounds like my kids.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're forcing me to do it.
Yes, and then you think Miss Miyagi's not teaching you not only to do your chores and your work and everything, but also learn what you're doing, the reason why you're doing it. And I think when we were, for me, when I was young, it was so hard for me to understand that. But when of course, like we'll talk about when we get married, it totally changes. You know, you need to understand why you have to do the dishes, why you have to vacuum the floor. All this stuff. Exactly.
But not necessarily why you have to do wax on, wax off, paint the fence, and sand the floor. But you know, that's
exactly. It was a meaningful why he chose that. Miyagi could have just done what the school done. Just teach him punches and all that stuff. But no, he taught him life experiences.
There's a whole philosophy behind it. Rather than just beating people up. Very good. And they honor the movies really well in Cobra Kai, so it'll be interesting to see what you and Bernadette think of it.
I can't wait to wait to see watch it now.
All right, Caroline.
Don't sound so enthusiastic.
Pump the jam, pump it up. Let's go. This is alluding to a conversation we had before the podcast. All right, all yours, Caroline. Go for it.
Yes.
Tell us.
Well, aside from watching maths, okay, I went there.
Oh,
wow. Wow. Okay, that's.
I have been watching a British mockumentary series, called Cunk of the Earth. All right, so it is a series on Netflix. The actress playing Philomena Cunk is Diane Morgan, and she plays a documentarian doing like a series of basically the history of the Earth, history of humanity on the Earth, and developments of, technologies and stuff through time.
Cool.
The thing is, it's completely ridiculous, and it's funny. Okay, it's completely ridiculous. It's funny.
Yep.
I would suggest that parents maybe not watch it with their children, because she throws in a bit of a bomb here and there that can be quite inappropriate, but it's minimal, so it makes it watchable. So, like, for example, she will be talking about the history of the wheel, explain it completely incorrectly, but it's so funny, like it's hilarious. And then she interviews professors, like real professors, on particular topics like philosophy, history, music professors, and ask them the most ridiculous, stupid questions. And they will be sitting there just stunned. Now, I don't know if these guys are in on it or not.
In on it, yeah.
But
I was about to say this is not staged.
Whether it's staged or not, it's completely hilarious.
So good,
I'm sure some of them have no clue what's going on. So that makes it really funny. But they're good sports. They play along with her. They were patient.
Yeah,
and
that's
they will
great. Yeah, just
explain things as if they're explaining to a real moronic idiot, like someone who just has no clue about anything.
Yeah.
And the best part of it, I have to say, is that somehow every time they always lead into playing the part of the video clip of Pump Up the Jam by
Oh, wow.
And so far I've watched I think 4 episodes, and each episode they will do this without fail, and they will play a little bit longer of the clip, a little bit more of the clip each time, and then just cut it out, and she'll continue explaining about whatever she's talking about at the time.
Yeah.
So if you're into this kind of mockumentary kind of comedy, if you want a good laugh and you can ignore the odd naughty little bit, go for it. It is funny. It's completely ridiculous. It's my kind of humor, because I love just real silly silly comedy. I really enjoy silly comedy. Yes. So,
which is why we liked Ren and Stimpy as children. That's right. Yeah.
Ren and Stimpy, we're there. Yeah, we were big Ren and Stimpy fans, and So I just like pure silly comedy. So I recommend it for adults for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So I'd love to hear what other people, if they dare to watch, what they have to say as well. I haven't watched it yet, but I might check out an episode, Caroline, and see what you've been getting into.
Once you watch the first one, you'll watch it all. Trust me. It's
or
just so
I'll
funny.
never watch it again. We'll see.
Or you'll never watch it again.
It's one or the other.
A complete moron, but yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll give it a go. Yeah, definitely
give it a whirl.
Why not?
You know,
All right.
it's funny. I just love her explanations, and she's very witty. You've got to listen because she's just it's really witty, and some of it's improvised too when she's asking questions. Yeah, she'll just roll on with it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Well, to cap off this segment, by the time this episode is released, the first episode of Star Trek Picard would have come out, and I cannot wait. So this of season 3, I cannot wait. So I'm just saying that, and I hope it's good. Is all I'm going to say because they're bringing like the whole cast of the Next Generation is coming back.
Oh, that'll be good.
This is meant to be their farewell that they didn't really get with Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah, right.
So I hope it's as good as people say it is. But let's all right, we'll save that for a future podcast.
Look forward to hearing that one.
Yeah.
Yes, look forward to hearing that.
Wow, is Patrick Stewart still still going?
They're
I was
all-
saying he can't. He's not, but he's
they're all in
he
it.
is.
Yeah.
well. If
Yeah.
if Ian McKellen can still keep on doing his Gandalf, why not? It's
No, he was Saruman. Oh no, you're right. Wait. Yeah, you're
Gandalf.
right. Yeah, Gandalf. Yeah, I was thinking
Ian
of
McKellen.
Christopher. Sorry, Christopher Lee.
I loved them.
Yeah.
Well, I watched a little bit on YouTube about with Ian Callum and Patrick Stewart doing a Shakespeare play.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They're all in that
amazing.
circle, aren't they? Yeah.
They are. Yeah.
No,
Absolutely
brilliant.
amazing.
Brilliant.
But that was good. Let's go.
Great.
Let's go. Patrick
All right.
Stewart, keep him going.
Yeah, that's it. Well, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Catholics of Oz. Today, we would like to thank SA. Now, before we go on, SA, this is either someone's name or the entire state of South Australia is thanking us. If that's the
let's
case,
go with that.
if that's the case, we love you, South Australia. If it's not, SA, we love you and thank you very much. Also, Rob L, Tony L, Gerardo E, and Greg C. Through their generous donations at sqpn.com/give, they make it possible for the Catholics of Oz and all the other shows on StarQuest to continue. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. We would love to know your thoughts about the topics that we've discussed today. You can send your feedback by visiting sqpn.com/Oz, where you can find our show notes from today's episode. You can also interact with us through Discord, sqpn.com/Discord. We love the conversations that happen there. And if you want to know more about what's happening with the StarQuest network, while you're on the website, you can sign up to the Insiders Club newsletter to get updates about your favorite shows, including this one, sqpn.com/about/newsletter. SQPN is also on a lot of the socials, so you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Twitter is at SQPN, StarQuest Media on Instagram, and a whole lot of others. And we also have our own Catholics of Oz Facebook page, which we get a couple of comments on from time to time that we love. Facebook.com/Catholics of Oz, spelt OZ. And you can discuss our latest episodes there if you like. Or if you like good old-fashioned email, you can email us at catholicsofoz@sqpn.com. Caroline, so good to have you back on the Catholics of Oz. Thank you for joining us today.
That was really fun. I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And Lino, so much fun as always. It's always good to have a chat and a laugh with you. Thank you so much. And
so good.
Countdown to 100's happening, Lino.
It's coming soon.
Yeah.
Can we fade out with Pump Up the Jam?
Yeah,
Yes, I love
yeah.
it.
There we
Good
go.
one.
Yeah. He's got his phone.
I won't go too long. But stop.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Thank you very much, you guys. Sorry, Caroline. If I keep on going, I was good for another.
No need to apologize to me for Pump Up the Jam. I'm a Technotronic fan.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s.
And Lino can't play that too long on his phone or we'll get a copyright violation.
We can sing it. No, we won't.
No,
we can sing it.
No,
Yeah, we can.
trouble.
We can sing it badly. Badly.
Badly.
Badly.
Yeah. All right. And thank you all again for joining us for episode 91. I'm Lindsay Sant, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the Catholics of Oz on StarQuest.
Sunshine on my pillow. Do we start recording now?
That's going. Yeah.
Yep.
Hang on.
You're already recording, so might as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now?
All right. Get your own recordings going. Yep. Now.
Pump up
Yep.
the jam, pump it up.
Oh no! Thanks, Lynn. That's going to stuck away now.
Sorry,
Or should I say thank you, Caroline? I don't know which one. Which one of you
You're
to thank?
most welcome. Happy to introduce Pump Up the Jam anytime.
Dom,
of
please,
the day.
Dom, you have to put this in our 100th episode.
100th episode. Yeah.
Best
If only the listeners knew that
I know.
Pump Up the Jam is going to be in my head for this whole episode.
Pump Up the Jam.
If there was some way that they could know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/mysterious.